Buenos días. Buen lunes. Good Monday. ¿Cómo están todos? ¿Cómo están? ¿Bien? ¿Están bien? Muy bien. Today I cannot cheat or / torture you extra. Today I cannot go over the 11 o'clock hour. Very briefly, dead battery, dead for 3 days. At 11 o'clock, I have 5 minutes to leave, charge the battery with a jump from our truck, and drive madly from Fountain Hills down to Frank Lloyd Wright to the dealership to get my battery replaced. Do hybrids have an alternator? That should also be checked. But do hybrids have an alternator? Yo no sé. I do not know. I've got a hybrid car. It's got 2 batteries. Fortunately, it's the cheap one that went kaput. So, okay. So if I cut things off abruptly at 11, you will know why. I have to drive madly. Okay. Bien. Vamos a empezar y vamos a practicar. Vamos a revisar. We're going to take a look back, repasar, review. We'll review a little bit of what you put on the big board with llevar. We'll take any questions you've got on that. We'll do a little more practice with llevar because you probably have some questions about that. We'll talk about some other verbs that do that as well. Aquí viene Trish. Here comes Trish. I will say, if you have this book, and if you don't, I will send you a copy and email of the pages because Marianne, I think you do not have this. No big deal. I will send you a reference, but I'll give you the pages and you may want to mark it. You know, we're not going to really read through it today, but I will show you where pages are that you will want to look at. And Marianne, you who do not have the book, do not worry. I can get you copies of the pages that you will need, which is just a few. Okay. Vamos a trabajar con llevar. We're going to work with llevar. We're just going to kind of incorporate, pronunciation as we go along with everything today, rather than having a special page. And we are going to talk about a few verbs that have more than one meaning. Llevar is one of them, and llevar es muy importante. That's really important. And we're going to talk also a little bit about the word a. And we're going to talk about the word a when it does not mean to. Like, vamos al cine, let's go to the theater. Not that a. It is still a. It still sounds like a, but it will have a different function. And it is a function that gives English speakers a little bit of trouble. So we'll take a look at that because this will allow us to dip our toe into that. We're also going to look a little bit at the word se because llevar did a special thing. You may notice we didn't focus on it, but we will today. Llevar is also used as llevarse, and you will see why that happens and how we set it up and why it looks like something you already know. Muy bien. Okay, aquí viene Nora. Here comes Nora. So, aquí vamos. Here we go. We're going to take a look. And for some of you, I sent feedback, but this will be your chance to ask any questions. I'm going to take a look at the big board. So I'm going to share my thing here. I'm going to share my screen with the big board of all the information that you had on llevar. I asked you to create some sentences using llevar and its many, many uses. So we're going to look at that first. Then we're going to take any questions you have. Then we're going to look at some practice with llevar. Okay? Okay. And we'll take a look. A lot of these were pretty good. There was one structure that, two structures that were a little tricky. So we'll look at those. En el verano. En el verano, llevo ropa de algodón. I wear cotton clothing. No ropa de lana, not wool clothing. Muy bien. Estoy jubilado. That may need to be jubilada if you're a female. Okay. estoy jubilado or jubilada, pero llevo mi celular. And now this word contigo means with you. If you want to say I carry my cell phone with me, it'll be llevo mi celular conmigo, conmigo. Me will be in the middle of that word instead of contigo. Contigo means with you, conmigo means with me. It is a special kind of word that just all runs together. Okay, muy bien. So different uses of llevar. I wear clothing. I carry a cell phone with me. I take a cell phone with me. Okay. Mi plato favorito lleva salmón, vegetales y patatas. My favorite food has, my favorite dish has, right? So one thing we looked at was llevar can mean to wear clothing, a little bit more in Spain than other places, but you know, that's okay. Llevar can mean to carry or transport. This is super important, this carrier transport thing. Llevar is used when you say that you're bringing something to somebody, you're taking something with you on your person, you're taking something, be it very, very small, or carrying it very heavy, okay? Llevar, to take, to carry. It means you're transporting a thing or a person from one place to another. So llevar, I would say many, many times we use it. It has that connotation of carrying, taking, or moving something from one location to another. Okay, bien. Bueno, mi hija y yo llevamos al supermercado. That one's a little off, but we'll see why in a bit. If you want to say my kid takes me somewhere or I take my kids somewhere, we will use llevar. We're going to come back to that in a bit, okay? So that we take that as a unit. Okay. This one here, ganchillo is crocheting. Yeah, a knitting kind of craft, right? And if you want to say you've been doing something for a certain amount of time, you can use that with llevar. And again, this is one of those uses we'll have to look at because it needs a little tweaking with how we set it up. It'll be more like llevo, and now my period of time. Llevo 20 años. I'm doing this for 20 years. And the implication is I still do it. Llevo 20 años. And now I need an ing word. We'll look at that later on the big whiteboard. Llevo 20 años haciendo ganchillo. I've been crocheting for 20 years. If I want to say I've been teaching for 15 years, I would say llevo 15 años. Literally, I carry 15 years. I know that's just the way they say it. Llevo 15 años enseñando español. And I'll show you how we set that up later, okay? Okay, here we've got another short, easy to look at wearing kind of example. Llevo pantalones cortos. Some places, I think especially close to the border, you may hear the word shorts actually, but pantalones cortos is generally shorts. In some places you'll use un short, maybe, or unos shorts. Llevo pantalones cortos y una camiseta and a t-shirt. Todos los días en el verano. Llevo una correa. Correa is a belt, but correa is very specific to Puerto Rico and the Caribbean region. Usually belt is cintura or cinturón. Okay. Bolsas. Okay. We want to make this a little bit better. Bolsas de caca would mean poop bags. And they are poop bags if you're walking your dog. Look at what we're talking about. Oh, gafas de sol, sunglasses, y un sombrero cuando camino perros, when I walk my dog. So I know you mean by that the little poop bags. But caca is one of those words. Yes, it means poop.
Marilyn,
Yes.
that's supposed to be a leash. instead
Oh,
of
leash. Oh, I thought you were talking about belt. Correa is a leash also. Now I get that part. Gracias. Okay. See, I've got all these things going in my head and I should have made that connection. Muchísimas gracias, Trish. Okay, so here we go. Those little bit, caca is a word we use with little kids when we're potty training them. You might use it when you're just kind of, ticked up, but it's a little bit of a coarse word or a word you use with little kids. So when you talk about the little bags you got to have with your dog, because you do, yeah, everyone does that, well, we hope. It would be more like, bolsas higiénicas, hygienic bags. If you're talking with other adults, that would be the refined way of saying, not a doggy bag where we carry food, but yeah, the doggy bag, like, yeah, for the waist. Okay, but the stuff you take with you, that's a good example. Okay, mi plato favorito lleva todas las verduras y proteínas, and we don't need an NN. Mi proteína by itself is good, usually singular. Protein is usually a singular word, unless you're speaking in scientific terms of different kinds of proteins, like analyzing them is chemically kind of an analysis thing. Mi plato favorito lleva. My favorite dish has things. So what I really wanted you to focus on, and most of you did, was using llevar for wear, using llevar for taking something or carrying something along with you, and llevar with food, because those are the easy ones. Food has stuff. We say mi plato lleva, or, I might even say mi café lleva crema. My coffee has cream in it, right? Something like that. Oh, mi café lleva canela. My coffee has some cinnamon in it. Whatever it is you have in a dish, in a type of food. Take somebody to the supermarket. Te llevo al supermercado. You, I take to the supermarket. That's the order they do it in. We say, I take you. Like in my car, right? I take a person in my vehicle somewhere. Te llevo al supermercado. I take you to the supermarket. En 2 horas. I'll do it in 2 hours. That's kind of a special structure. You don't expect to see te llevo, really. Llevo tells who's taking somebody in their car. Llevo, I'm taking somebody. And the person I'm taking is a human being. Te llevo. You, I'm taking. That's the word order they do it in. Again, we'll come back to that and look at it here. Mi pasatiempos es hacer ejercicio. My pastime, my hobby is exercising. Y llevo 2 horas. We need llevo and the time. Llevo 2 horas haciéndolo, doing it. I've been doing it for 2 hours. Again, we'll come back to that in a bit. That's not one of the burning question, most important uses. En verano, llevo sobre todo pantalones cortos, camisetas y sandalias. In summer, I wear above all or mostly pants, shorts, shorts, t-shirts, sandals. Aquí, llevo un maletín. I carry a briefcase. Literally it's a small suitcase, a briefcase, un maletín. Todos los días cuando voy a trabajar. When I go to work, I carry my suitcase. We're going to look right below that. Llevo sandalias, because you have, unless you're an amputee, llevo sandalias, because we all have 2 sandals, okay? Llevo sandalias en el verano. That's one of those things you just have to use plural, like llevo zapatos, okay? Mi pasatiempo favorito es la fotografía y llevo muchos años practicing it. That's a good setup, but again, a hard setup. I've been doing this for many years. Can use llevar. Here we've got a taking to the movies, but we will need to say who we're taking to the movies, and this will be part of our lesson today. Nosotros llevamos al cine esta noche. We're taking to the theater. You're either going to have to say you're taking a thing, like your wallet, your phone, or you're taking a person to the theater. Today, you're going to learn how to say you're taking a person. That's missing in this example. And we'll take a look at how you can do that. Te llevamos, we're taking you, okay, or something else, depending on that, who it is we're taking. And now we've got an ingredient example here with the one that starts with pasta. Pasta, salsa y queso son los ingredientes que lleva mi plato favorito de lasagna. Pasta, sauce, and cheese are the ingredients that my favorite dish has. Bien. Okay, we'll move it on down. A thing that I take here, a thing that I take, llevo mi celular. I take my cell phone cuando voy a trabajar, when I go to work. Mi plato favorito lleva pasta, aceite de oliva y ajo, telling what kind of ingredients are in your favorite dish, right? Aceite is aceite de oliva, olive oil, right? Ajo, garlic. Me gusta. Now, here we need me gusta llevar. I like to wear. Me gusta llevar. When you say you like to do something, we cannot conjugate those two verbs. The me gusta part is conjugated, but llevar has to go back into an infinitive because when we've got two verbs working together, the first one gets conjugated, the second one just goes along for the ride, and it's just as the infinitive. Me gusta llevar faldas cortas y camisetas ligeras. I like to wear short skirts and light t-shirts. Llevo al parque, again, we're going to learn how to say that you take somebody to the park. A las 10, a las 10. This one will need some work, but that's okay. Again, this is taking something to a shopping center and me puede llevar, can you take me? Okay, a las 10, me puede llevar al centro comercial. Centro comercial. Can you take me? If you go up to a taxi and you want to say, can you take me somewhere? This llevar verb is something that you need to be able to use. So we're going to look at that a little bit later. Mi pasatiempo favorito es el senderismo. Yay! Hiking is my favorite pastime, my favorite hobby. Yo llevo 9 años haciendo caminatas. I've been hiking for 9 years. Okay? And again, we'll learn how to do that one today. Mi plato favorito es ceviche. Ceviche. My favorite dish is ceviche. A menudo lleva pescado y jugo de lima. Often, a menudo just means often. Often it has, ceviche has, we're talking about ingredients. Ceviche has fish and lime juice or lemon juice, right? Llevo la computadora portátil. I take my laptop al trabajo, to work, todos los días. And here are a couple of hard ones. Llevarse, we will talk about this today. Llevarse has a special meaning. It uses 2 words instead of 1. And the 2 words are a little pronoun, either me or te or se or nos. And it means now instead of carry or wear or ingredients in a dish, it means get along with. And I need those 2 pronouns in this, but it does not work like gustar. It'll be me llevo bien. I get along with. I get along well with. Me llevo bien con mis amigos. I get along well with my friends. And now we're going to have a why clause. Porque las personas well, you would need something extra. The people I don't get along with are not my friends. Let's leave that be because that's a complicated one to fix. But me llevo bien con mis amigos. I get along well with my friends. I could say me llevo bien Con mis suegros. I get along well with my in-laws. Me llevo bien con los amigos de mis hijos. I get along well with my kids' friends. Many different kinds of people. Me llevo bien con mis colegas. I get along well with my coworkers, my colleagues, colegas. Okay? Here's a little example with me llevo mal. Me llevo mal, I get along badly. Or you can just take the me llevo and turn it into a negative. No me llevo bien. No me llevo bien is the same thing as me llevo mal. I get along badly. Con las personas en el restaurante o la tienda que son groseros. Okay, groseros means rude, you know, impolite. I get along badly with people who are impolite in stores and restaurants. Here is a clothing item. Llevo camisetas y pantalones cortos o vestidos en el verano, telling what I wear in the summer. Bien. Down here, we're going to take a look. Mi plato favorito lleva el ajo, la berenjena, eggplant, y la carne molida, ground meat. De cerdo, ground pork. Carne molida de cerdo. Molida means ground up, like ground beef, right? So ground pork. Bueno, llevo, and now we need our time period because we're saying doing something for a period of time. Llevo 3 años leyendo. I've been reading for 3 years, but I think there's probably other stuff we need to clean up. That's okay. Llévame, it's a command. Llévame, take me. Llévame a la oficina del veterinario. Take me to the vet's office. Okay. Llevo mi café, I take my coffee, mi almuerzo, my lunch, mi suéter and my sweater para trabajar todos los días, to work every day. Llevo mi flauta, I take my flute, we know who that is. Llevo mi flauta al dormitorio para practicar. I'm taking my flute to the bedroom to practice. Mi socio me lleva a Flagstaff. Socio is like an associate, partner, right, in some endeavor. Mi socio me lleva, me, he takes, me lleva, me, he takes to a city, okay? Meaning you're driving me, transporting me to that place. Llevo un bolso, a bag, or a purse, un bolso. Cuando voy a la tienda, we would need an un, or mi bolso, my purse, or un bolso, or el bolso. We need a little bit of something in front of the bolso word. Okay. Llevo pantalones cortos, I wear shorts, y camisetas, bien, okay. We're going to look down here. Llevo, here's a gem. Here's what you're going to learn today. If I say I'm taking my daughter, or my sister, perdón. I'm taking my sister. Let me type here. It won't. Okay. We need to express it this way. Llevo a. We need the word a. Llevo a mi hermana. I take my sister. Llevo a mi hermana al cine mañana. I'm taking my sisters to the movies. Llevo a mi hermana. So this is something you're going to see in examples today. No llevo nada. I need a double negative. No llevo nada. I don't take anything. Cuando voy al trabajo, when I go to work, porque soy jubilado, because I'm a retiree. Llevo mi computadora, mi celular y mi almuerzo. Llevo camisetas y pantalones cortos en el verano. También en el otoño, la primavera y el invierno. Wow, all the time you wear shorts. Sure, because we live here, porque vivimos aquí en Arizona. Mi tortilla favorita lleva huevos, tomates, pimientos y queso. I'm telling all the ingredients in tortilla favorita. Bien, ok. Llevo al banco de comida. I take to the food bank. We'll need to have a something like llevo latas. I take cans. Llevo latas de comida al banco de comida. Okay. Or if you take a person to the food bank, you have to name that person. And now we're going to have, I'm doing something for a certain period of time. Llevo un año. Llevo un año y media, a year and a half. Llevo un año y media practicando Tai Chi. Llevo un año y medio, un año y medio, it should be medio, I'm reading the media. Un año y media practicando Tai Chi. And we'll take a look at that in a minute. En un minuto. Here we get the ingredients one to wind up here. Mi plato favorito es fondue de chuleta de cordero. Wow. Y lleva, not llave. Lleva. Llave is a key to open a door. And that was a transposition thing. Y lleva, it has as ingredients, right? Lleva cordero y queso. Queso derretido, melted cheese, just queso derretido, no plural there. Okay, so what we read about and what you saw videos about were many, many uses of llevar. So the ones that were most important for you to practice were the ingredients one, the wearing clothes one, and the carrying or having something on you, the moving something from one place to another. Those meanings were the most important. Out of all those meanings of llevar, I would say the one that probably, if you're just on the street, talking with people at hotels, taxis, stores, the most important use of llevar for you as a turista, as a tourist, would be that meaning of llevar for carrying or taking, whether it's a thing or a human being. Yeah? Llevo gafas, llevo lentes, I wear glasses. Okay. Llevo mis llaves. I take my keys. Or llevo algo a la fiesta. I'll bring something to the party, meaning like some food contribution. Yeah, something like that. That's probably the most important one for now. We're going to take a look at a couple of these oddball structures, though, with some of the other uses. Okay. And before I do that, I'm going to take questions you've got on anything you saw or watched on video. ¿Tienen preguntas? Any questions? Llevar es difícil. Some of it is really obvious. The clothing one, you can just conjugate the verb. The I'm carrying something, you can just conjugate the verb. We're going to look at the two things where you can't just plug in that easy verb. Bien? Okay.
Marilyn?
Oh, sí, dime.
This one was really tricky for me, and I just wanted to see if I have this correctly, that you use this particular verb in connection with something or someone else, right? Is that correct?
Yes. Like you take somebody in a vehicle.
Okay.
Yes. So we're going to look at that in a few minutes. Llevar is used to say you take, like you carry a thing somewhere. But when we're talking about taking somebody in a vehicle, like taking your kids to school, taking your husband to the office, taking your neighbor to their doctor appointment, you want to tell the taxi driver, take me to the museum. take me to the airport. We use llevar even with that because somebody literally is transporting you, but they're doing so in a vehicle, okay? So whether that vehicle is the car, the taxi cab, that the subway is taking you somewhere, transporting a human being in a vehicle uses llevar. So you learned the verb tomar, right? Tomar, and tomar had many meanings too. We did a lesson on that long ago. Some of you were in class for that, some of you not. Tomar means to take also, like tomo el libro, I take the book, right? Meaning I grab it and now I possess it. Tomar can also mean eat or drink. Tomo un café. I'm having a coffee. I'm drinking a coffee. Tomo un café. So tomar had many meanings in a way like llevar, but this tomar, tomo el libro, I'm taking the book. Aquí toma, take it, is a little bit different from llevar, for take. Llevar means you're moving it from one place to another. Llevar indicates a change in location. Tomar, take, doesn't necessarily indicate a change in location, but llevar means you're moving it from one place to another. You're transporting it, literally, although we probably wouldn't say that word transport in English. And so that will be for things and for people, Nora. Okay? Bien. ¿Más o no? No? Okay. Vale. Aquí vamos. Here we go. We're going to take a look at a whiteboard. Gee, I'm really going to hope that it will give me my text box. Oh, it looks like it's cooperating today. Que milagro. Yay! Text box. Okay. Let's look at, let's say, 2 tricky things with llevar that you saw in the video. And you may have kind of gotten it, but then thought, wow, there's something that looks funny with this. Okay, we're going to look at them. Then you do a little practice one-on-one with all the different uses here. Sometimes we use llevar to say you've been doing something for a certain amount of time. And we're implying that from time to time, you're still doing this. You know, this isn't, it's something that is an ongoing thing, okay? Like, let's say that you are Nora and you're explaining to somebody, I've been playing the flute for 20 years. ¿Cuántos años, Nora?
4th grade.
Oh, okay. Let's just say 30 years. Okay. I've been playing flute for 30 years. Okay. We can use llevar to say, I've been doing this for a certain amount of time, meaning I still do this thing. You know, maybe I'm not doing it at this exact moment, but I've been doing it for this long and I still do it from time to time. Okay. So we'll conjugate llevar for whoever has been doing that. In this case, we're going to say Nora. Nora lleva. Nora lleva. And now, right after lleva, we got to plug in that time period. We've got to plug in that stretch of time. Nora lleva 30 años. And I need my Spanish accent keyboard. Perdón. Nora lleva 30 años. Nora lleva 30 años, and now I need play. Oh, ¿cómo se dice play? Not play a game, but play an instrument. It's tocar. We need to use tocar, but for this thing, for this expression, I can't just put in tocar as an infinitive. I have to do something with it. I have to make it an playing format. So that's how I do that for tocar, an AR verb. Tocando. I'll show you how that works. This is an easy thing to learn, by the way. Nora lleva 30 años tocando la flauta. Nora carries 30 years playing the flute. But we wouldn't say carries. We would say she's been doing this for 30 years. And she still does. It's a hobby she still does. Okay. Let's say that you tinker with cars and you've been fixing cars because it's your fun hobby. You've been doing it. For 15 years. You kind of got into it. Okay. And you've been doing it for 15 years. Llevo, I tell who's been doing it. I've been doing it. Llevo 15 años, 15 años reparando autos. I've been carrying 15 years fixing, reparando. There are different words you can use for fixing. Reparando autos. Okay. Bien. Algo, something not with ando. So ando for AR verbs is roughly, we could say, an equivalent to this idea in English, ing, for AR verbs. Okay. Llevo 10 años cocinando comida italiana. I've been cooking Italian food for 10 years. Okay. But let's say you own a restaurant and you want to say, I've been serving my customers for 5 years and I'm still in business. Okay. Servir is not an AR verb. So I can't say servando. ER verbs and IR verbs will not use ando. They will use yendo. And wow, my cursor is going all over the place. Okay. They will use yendo. ER verbs and IR verbs will do that. And servir is going to be a little odd in that it will also do an SIR. It's a spelling thing. But okay, so how would you say, I've been serving my customers for 5 years? Llevo 5 años sirviendo, and this is just an odd thing that servir does. It doesn't do serviendo, it does sirviendo. Sirviendo a mis clientes. Sirviendo a mis clientes. Yes, that word a must be there. Llevo 5 años sirviendo a mis clientes. I've been serving my customers for 5 years. So llevo will always plug in the period of time right after that, and then a verb that ends in ando or yendo, one or the other. Okay. Let's take an easier verb than servir. Mi hija es muy joven. My daughter is very young. Ella tiene 22 años. She's 22. Lleva 2 años bebiendo café. She's been drinking coffee for 2 years. She wasn't a coffee drinker all her life. Lleva 2 años bebiendo café. She's been drinking coffee for 2 years, and she still does. She maybe isn't doing it this minute, but she's been doing that for 2 years, and she probably will do it in the future, right? Okay. ¿Tienen preguntas? Do you have any questions? Ando and yendo. And that's a little harder one for you to do because that's a new thing. That is a structure that's like our word ing with a verb. Drinking, working. Un ejemplo más. Mis colegas, the people who work with me, right? See, mis colegas llevan, mis colegas llevan un mes trabajando en esta oficina. My colleagues have been working in this office for a month. Mis colegas llevan, and now I've got my period of time, un mes, a month, trabajando en esta oficina, working in this office. Okay? Bien? ¿Preguntas o no?
Would you give us some homework related to this so we have to think it through?
I can do that.
Just
After
so-
they replace my battery and I get back, I will do that.
Just so I can think it through,
It does take time to think that structure through.
Mhm.
It does, and to get used to it. So now I didn't give you tons of examples of it before because it is not as, the thing that is most useful for you as a tourist is that llevar for taking things or taking people places, for wearing stuff. Some of these definitions of llevar are more important than others. Okay. Bien. We're going to take a look at, okay, momentito. Okay. We're going to take a look at one other little thing here. Una cosita más. What if you want to say you're taking a human being someplace? Because this is a really es súper importante. Es muy importante. Es importantísimo. This is really super important. If you want to say you're taking not a thing like a platter of food, or not a thing like I'm taking my purse, I'm taking my backpack, I'm taking my laptop. If you want to say you're taking a person in a vehicle, we need to do a little something special. Well, maybe a couple things. Let's say you want to say, I'm taking my sister shopping. The I'm taking part es fácil. Llevo, bien? I'm taking, right? Llevo, and now we want to say, I'm taking my sister. Well, you would think that this is good enough. Llevo mi hermana. Llevo mi hermana, right? I take my sister. I'm driving my car, get to her house, honk, honk, get in the car. Llevo a mi, it's got to be llevo a mi hermana. It needs to be a. It must be a. Who's doing this action of I'm taking my sister shopping? I'm doing it, right? Okay. And the verb tells the story of who does the action. So, llevo. But who receives the action? Not does the action, but receives the action. Sister receives the action, right? When the thing that receives the action is a human being, and in this case, we have a human being, mi hermana. When the thing receiving the action of the pickup for the ride is a human being, we must use the word a in front of that person. In front of their name, if you just use their name, or in front of the word indicating the human being. This is called the a personal. The a personal, personal a. It is important in Spanish. Anytime, this is a general rule, anytime that a human being receives action of the verb, you must use an a in front of their name. Okay? Whether it's their proper name or just, could be vague, a una persona. Could be that vague. In English, that translates to exactly nothing. Nothing at all. Nada. That word does not translate, but it must be there because to the listener, it indicates, oh, this human being is receiving the action. It's just what they do. So, llevo a mi hermana al centro comercial o llevo a mi hermana para ir de compras. I take my sister to go shopping. ¿Bien? Otro ejemplo, mi esposo y yo, my husband and I, llevamos a los niños al colegio. My husband and I, we're taking the kids to school. Llevamos a los niños, llevamos a los niños. Mi esposo y yo llevamos a los niños al colegio. The a los niños must be there. I'm going to take you back to long, long ago and show you something, and you will go in your mind, aha. You learned how to say things like this. A Luisa le gusta bailar. A Luisa le gusta bailar. Luisa likes to dance. That's why a Luisa needed an a. She receives that action of dancing, giving her pleasure. Okay? And in English, it's totally different because we have that verb likes, meaning she's doing it. But here, Luisa is actually not doing anything. Dancing is pleasing to her. And that's why you needed that word a there, because a human being, Luisa, receives that action of something giving her pleasure. Okay? Bien? Okay. So anytime a human being receives action, it's going to be the a personal. Bien? And we'll get a longer lesson on that in a bit, en un poquito. ¿Tienen preguntas? I want to stop and pause to see if you have questions first before I send you out to do some practice. ¿Sí o no? ¿Hay preguntas?
No.
These are really not grammar things so much as they are getting the words in the right order, right? Yeah? Okay. We're going to do this kind of, kind of together. Yeah, if you knew how to split your screens, we could do this all at the same time. But we're going to take a look at this, I think, together now. And see if you get the concept before I send you off to do some practice. Okay. A ver. Si tenemos preguntas así, if we've got questions like this, and we're going to mix some of the different uses of llevar here, okay? Let's see if we know what the question means and then how we would answer that, right? ¿Cuántos años llevas en Arizona? How many years do you carry in Arizona? What does that really mean? How many years have you been in here? Yeah. How could we answer this? First of all, I'm asking you, llevas, so you have to answer with yo, right? Una idea, an idea.
I'll try it.
Trish, bien.
Llevo 30 años viviendo en Arizona.
Llevo 30 años viviendo en Arizona, sí. Or in this case, we could even just shorten it. Llevo 30 años en Arizona. Either way is good. Either way is good. Viviendo, muy bien, very good, because you took that yendo thing, viviendo. Llevo 30 años viviendo en Arizona, or llevo 30 años en Arizona. Muy bien. Okay. So that's how long you've been, right? In a place. Número dos. El segundo aquí. ¿Qué lleva una ensalada? What does a salad
Contain.
Contain. What does a salad contain? Or we might commonly in English, what does a salad have in it? Right? We don't need have in it because that's all said with the verb lleva. ¿Qué lleva una ensalada? ¿Qué lleva una ensalada? What does a salad have? What might we say? Una idea.
Tomate.
Otra vez. Una ensalada lleva. And now we need a list of ingredients. Lleva
Tomato,
tomate. Bien, Carlos. Sí, lleva
queso, queso,
Queso.
queso,
queso. Quizás, sí, queso. Lechuga. Lettuce.
Cebolla.
Cebolla, onion, es posible. ¿Sí? Pepino, cucumber, zanahorias, carrots, posible, ¿sí? Apio, celery, fruta. Fruit, ok, bien. Ok, ¿qué lleva tu receta menos favorita? ¿Qué lleva tu receta? Receta es recipe. ¿Qué lleva tu receta menos favorita? What does your least favorite recipe have in it? Algo que no te gusta, something you don't like. And you might not know all the ingredients, but por ejemplo, if somebody does not like garlic, okay, mi receta menos favorita lleva ajo, right? If you a person who doesn't like garlic, es un ejemplo. Mi receta menos favorita lleva mucha cebolla. My least favorite recipe has a lot of onion, por ejemplo, ¿verdad? Okay. I'll probably give you guys these questions as part of this that you can work through because you may need to look up ingredient lists, stuff like that. And here we've got ¿a quién llevas? Llevas is asking, do you take? Al médico. That is asking, who do you take to the doctor? But because taking to the doctor means the person receiving is a human being, we need to phrase that as ¿a quién? So I've got a lead off here. Llevo a nombre. You need to say, I take a person to the doctor. Llevo a
Mi madre.
mi madre. Llevo a mi madre al médico. Llevo a mi madre al médico. Llevo a
mi esposa,
mi esposa al médico. Llevo a mi niño al médico. Llevo a mi nieto, my grandkid, al médico.
No llevo a alguno.
Oh, nobody?
Nobody. No llevo a
¿Cómo se dice nobody? We had this summer.
nadie. No,
Nadie.
Nadie.
no
We
llevo
do need an a in front of nadie.
llevo a nadie.
No llevo a nadie. No llevo a nadie al médico. I don't take anybody to the doctor. No llevo a nadie al médico. If I wanted to be vague, but I don't say who, it's still a human being. Llevo a alguien al médico. I take somebody. Llevo a alguien al médico. No llevo a nadie al médico. Es así. ¿Bien? ¿Ok? Bueno. ¿Qué llevas cuando vas a una fiesta? Muy fácil. ¿Qué llevas cuando vas a una fiesta? We're going to skip over that. I'm going to give you time to do that in breakout room. So write that one question down. ¿Qué llevas cuando vas a una fiesta? Because you can think of something for that. What do you take when you go to a
Party.
party? And I'm going to send you off and use that in breakout rooms in a minute. And the next question after that, I'm going to send you off to do in breakout room to do that. ¿Cuáles son tres cosas que llevas en tu bolsa o tu bolsillo? What are three things you carry in your purse or in your bolsillo? Pocket. Bien. You're going to use those two questions when I send. Oh no, you're going to use a third question. Número 7. ¿Qué llevas cuando hace frío? What do you wear when it's cold? You all talked a lot about what you wear when it's hot. So we're going to use 3. And we're going to ignore the last one for the moment. We're going to use 3 of these questions. You're going to use them with your partners in the breakout rooms. ¿Qué llevas cuando vas a una fiesta? What do you take when you go to a party? Literally, don't we say, what do you bring when you go to a party? In this sense, it really means bring, because you're contributing something. You're transporting it from your house to your host's house, right? Okay, so you're going to ask each other and trade some ideas on ¿qué llevas cuando vas a una fiesta? Cuando voy a una fiesta, when I go to a party, llevo, I bring, okay, or I take. Llevo, I take, llevo dinero, and I'm not going to steal your thunder, you know, whatever it is you take, en la bolsa. Y llevo clothes, right? Cuando hace frío. Llevo ropa. I wear whatever kind of clothing when it's cold. Cuando hace frío. So you're going to use llevar to transport something to a party. Talk about that. You're going to use llevar to say what you have on you, what you carry with you, purse or pocket. And you're going to use llevar to talk about wearing something on your body, but not warm weather, in cold weather. ¿Entienden? Understand?
Mhm.
Okay, and you're going to talk about yourself. So it's all going to be yo. I mean, you could talk about your wife, your husband, your friend, if you want to. I mean, no importa, doesn't matter. As long as you're using llevar, just in those limited situations. Todos tienen las preguntas. Everybody have the questions?
Mhm.
Hay 3, there are 3. Creo que necesitan 5, 7 minutos, 5, 7, 5 or 7 minutes. ¿Sí?
7.
¿Está bien?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to send you off to breakout room to do that. Somos 12. A ver. I think I'm going to put you not in groups of 2, but in groups of 3 to make it a little more comfortable. Remember, once I start this, then you're going to have to hit the join button to go into your breakout room with your partners and just talk about answering those 3 questions. Oh, perdón. You know what? Actually, I may need to change that into sending into 4 breakout rooms. We have it. Add a room. I'm going to alter this just a little bit. Bear with me, please. Okay, 2 of you are going to be, or 2 of you are going to be in a room on your own, but in groups of 3 other than that. Okay, here we go. Hit your join button. Aquí vienen. Here you're all coming back. Muy bien. Y tienen preguntas. Do you have any questions after going out and practicing that?
I have una pregunta.
Okay.
Very simple question. So if I want to say one of the item in my purse is money, dinero, do I use the article el dinero or just llevo dinero?
Llevo dinero.
Oh,
Buena
okay.
pregunta. Good question. Dinero is one of those things they consider incontable, uncountable.
Ah,
Okay. Wow. That's kind of, actually, it's contrary to, that's not intuitive. That is counterintuitive. We count money, don't we? But, money is just something you have money. You know right now exactly, probably not. Yeah. Yeah. Llevo dinero. I carry money. You don't need an el dinero. You don't, yeah. Buena pregunta. Good question. Okay.
I have a question also.
Okay.
We had a similar question when what do you bring to a party? Food. Is that almost always la comida?
Yeah, like food in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, comida. Sí, comida. There is another word for food, comestibles. We've got a really fancy English word, comestibles, right? Comestibles. But comestibles is more like groceries. That food, like the general stuff you would bring home to your house. Yeah, comida is just a good general. I bring some kind of food to a party.
Okay.
Llevo cerveza. I bring beer.
And without the la in front of it.
Without the la, probably, because it's just some sort of really general thing. Llevo algo de comer. I bring something to eat. Llevo algo de comer. Right?
Okay.
A lot of different ways we can say that, actually. Buena pregunta. ¿Hay más preguntas o no? Okay, we're going to take a quick look, but not super long. Quick look at llevarse and what llevarse means, but it's going to be very brief because we're going to run out of time and I don't want to get too deep into that subject. I'm just making sure I got my clocks all right. I have 3 different clocks and they each have different times. Okay, you saw a little bit of llevarse. It is a use of llevar. We're going to take a look at what that means to use llevarse, to get along with. And I'll send you notes of this, so you don't really need to copy any of this down. I will send you notes of this in the email. I'll probably put it all into a Nearpod item to look at a second time along. Because llevar means so many different things, and it really takes a couple lessons to get comfortable with it. So a lot of your homework will be kind of looking over this again. We had a couple of examples where we use llevar as llevarse. And llevarse bien, to get along well, llevarse mal, to not get along well, or to get along badly, to not get along at all. Llevarse has a little se hanging off of its little tushy rear end there. And that little se hanging off its rear end is special. Certain verbs have that little word se that hang off the end of the infinitive there. And that means it puts those verbs in a special category of verbs that use a particular pronoun. These are called reflexive pronouns. I don't care that you know that word, but you need one extra step. Besides conjugating the verb, to use this phrase of get along, you need not just the verb, but a pronoun in front of the verb, 2 things. So it's a little bit unusual. It's not like what you've done before. And yet, oh yes, you have done it before. You have done it before. You've done it like this. And I'm going to try to make this bigger. You have seen this exact same thing, but with a different verb. And that different verb was llamarse. Yet you used the very first time you were in a Spanish class to say, my name is. So you're going to think of llevarse, to get along, as the same kind of verb as llamarse, to call oneself. And the way we use that is To say my name is, it's me llamo, right? And we can't just have llamo. It's got to be me llamo. Okay? Bien. Vale. Te llamas. Right? Your name is se llama. Her name is, his name is. Nos llamamos. Our name is. Os llamáis, we don't use that in Spain. Se llaman, their name is. Bien? Good so far? So you've already used that, right? Mis hijos se llaman José y María. My kids are named Joe and Marie. Me llamo Nora, me llamo Marilyn, me llamo Carlos, whatever it is, right? ¿Cómo te llamas? What's your name? So you've used that before. We're going to use those pronouns, me, te, se, nos, and se, with llevar. But now it's going to mean get along. So we'll use the verb llevo, llevas, lleva, llevamos, lleváis, llevan, right? But we're going to put a little pronoun in front of it. And the pronoun you're going to put in front of it is going to be one of these things in blue. It'll be me for the yo verb. It'll be te for the tú verb. It'll be se for the le a usted verb. It's also going to be se, the same one, for ellos and ellas, or ustedes verbs. And it'll be nos for the nosotros verbs. Yay! Just like me llamo, just like that. But instead of putting it with llamo, we're going to put these pronouns, me, te, se, nos, with llevar. So it'll become me llevo, I get along. Te llevas, you get along. Se lleva, he gets along, she gets along. You, if it's the usted, you get along. Nos llevamos, we get along. Os lleváis, if you're in Spain, and se llevan, they get along. Or you guys get along. Ustedes se llevan muy bien en esta clase. You guys get along really well in this class. Ustedes en nuestra clase se llevan muy bien. Ustedes se llevan muy bien. You guys get along really well. Bien? Okay. And we're not going to do a lot with that, but just so that you know what that structure is. Somebody gets along well. Se lleva bien. Or somebody gets along not so well. No se lleva bien. Or se lleva mal. Okay? So that's how they're going to use that. So the reason for using that extra little pronoun is that when we mean to say get along with, one with the other, these little me, te, se tell one with the other. They tell the story of one another. Look at it that way. Carry along well, the verb tells the story of who does it, and the me, te, se, or nos tells with each other. Bien? Vale? Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that for now, because that won't be as common for you to say, take me to the airport. We're going to go into this idea of take me to the airport now, though. We are going to have a little short lesson about the a personal. I will give you a video to watch it for part of your homework. The a personal is what we talked about, and this is how you talk about saying that you take somebody somewhere. One thing to think about is that when we speak with Spanish, sometimes we have to do a little bit of grammar thinking, and this is that case. When we conjugate a verb, we tell who is doing the action. And whoever's doing the action is considered the subject, right? As the subject, whoever that person is the main event, right? That's the person who does something, the subject. But many sentences, not all, many sentences, many times when you want to communicate, something or somebody also receives action. Okay? And whatever or whomever receives the action is what we call an object. Now, you don't much ever in English when you speak thinking in terms of I'm doing the action, somebody else is an object. You don't think using those ideas of subject and object. But because we're talking now in Spanish, we've got a little extra grammar speak we have to throw in where you have to understand what an object is. An object receives whatever the action of the verb is. Okay, yeah. Now, that doesn't really matter when whatever receives the action is a thing, but it does matter when whatever receives the action is a human being. Because then that means that we have to think about a human receiving action. When a human receives action in Spanish, you need to use that word in front of their name. Always, always, always. Okay? And you'll have a video to watch that, but I will tell you really briefly, and Marianne, I will make sure you get a copy of these pages. In your book, en tu libro, I will put in the chat box the page numbers you're going to need to look at, because this will be helpful. En las páginas 177 hasta 178. There are the two, oops, and I lied because it really goes on to 79. Uy, momentito. Oh, to 181. Revise that, folks. And again, Marianne, I will have pages of these for you to look at, so do not worry that you don't have the book. It's no big deal. Here we go. There are the page numbers. They're going to talk about the object. Now, I'm going to show you something here. Sometimes an object is a thing, and then we don't need an a. In other cases, the object will not be a thing, but a human being. Uy. And I want to get rid of this board, so we're going to clear that. Okay, a ver. Here we go, la a personal. Okay. So let's put it this way. When the object in a sentence is a human being, and I'm even going to say, or a pet, because that happens too. You must use the word whoops, before their name. Okay, but only when it's a human being. So let's take the verb ver, to see, right? Sometimes I see a thing. Yeah? Veo, and that tells who's doing it. I don't even have to say yo. Veo, I see. Veo muchos carros en la calle. I see a lot of cars on the street. The only human being involved is the person doing the action, right? Veo. What's receiving the action of that verb to see? It's carros, not a human being. But what if I want to say, I see Carlos on the screen? Veo a Carlos en la pantalla. I see Carlos on the screen. Carlos is a human being. I have to include that sound a. I have to include that word a. I see Carlos. It looks to you translating, if your brain is translating, I see two Carlos. That is not what it means. That word a, usually I know, does mean two, T-O. But in this context, that word a does not translate into anything at all in English. It is simply there because it is signaling the person I'm speaking to, veo a, they know, oh, a human being is going to come now. Veo a, and they know, oh, there's a somebody after this word coming up. Veo a Carlos. Veo a los chicos jugando en la calle. I see the kids playing in the street. Veo a mi vecino. Veo a ustedes. All of those are situations where whatever is receiving veo, I see, is a human being or a group of human beings. ¿Comprenden? ¿Sí? I can even say, veo a mi gatita. I see my little kitty. If my kitty is beloved in my household, if it is a pet, not just some animal running around in the wild, I'll probably use with my pet too, because your pets are beloved to you and live with you. Yeah. So anytime a human being receives action, we need to use this And when we ask the question, we will need to zing in that word So, okay, por ejemplo, if I want to ask, who do you see? Oh, who are you seeing tomorrow? Who are you seeing tomorrow? Like you're going someplace, right? A quién? I even have to put it in front of quién, because quién is a who, not a what. A quién ves mañana? Who are you seeing tomorrow? So may even go in front of a word like quién. It may even go in front of a word like nadie, which Diane helpfully brought up for us. It may go in front of a word like someone, because even though that's a vague term, someone is a human being, right? So sometimes will even sneak in front of one of those words. Quien still implies human being, nadie, right? If they're receiving action. Certain verbs lend themselves to these. Your book, the page numbers I gave you in the chat box will be kind of that vague list, but it's not an all-inclusive list, okay? You might say you hug your teddy bear, but you might say you hug your wife or husband, right? You might say you are, let's see, llevar, obviously, right? You take somebody someplace. Gracias, sí. Ya casi llegó la hora, 2 minutos, 2 minutes. We got 2 minutes left to go. So they're going to give you a list of words on these page numbers. Things like, como por ejemplo, verbs like abrazar, to hug, acompañar, to accompany, meaning you go with somebody. Verbs like amar, to love, because you love somebody. Verbs like ayudar, because you help somebody, right? Besar, kiss, because you kiss somebody. Buscar, because you're looking for somebody. I can be looking for, buscar, something, or I can be looking for, buscar, somebody, in which case I need the a personal. When you say you know somebody, conocer, we have to use that word a. Okay, un ejemplo muy breve, ¿sí? Conozco a muchas personas en España. I know many people in Spain. Who receives the action of know? People. I know many people. Conozco a muchas personas en España. We need to have that word a, even though it translates meaning not anything whatsoever. ¿Comprenden? And many verbs, llevar being one of them, but many other verbs will use that. So I will have you read those little pages or go through those little pages, and we'll have some videos to watch on that, and you'll get some some homework to do on using llevar with people. Bien? Okay, está bien? Bien. I need to cut it off strictly so I can go get my battery. Hopefully I can drive somewhere. Although I know you kind of don't need to drive as many places, but yeah, still got to have that car for those emergencies. So I'll see you guys next week. I'll send you an email late in the day with all the other fun stuff and attachments and homework. Bien?
Gracias.
De nada. Que tengan buena semana. Have a good week.